All right, guys. So let's go through the updates. So this week, it was a big one. We are working on one of the important STLC phase, which is test plan creation phase. So we have to go through proper updates. So what I want from you is, so this is a weekly update call, basically. When you're providing your update, either a group leader, manager, or anyone from the team, let's provide update from your entire group. When you're providing update, let's talk about what happened throughout the week, what activity happened, how was your team uh, involvement, and what work was done. Let's showcase the work. Um, so which team wants to start first? And if there are any challenges, if there are any outstanding questions, things like that.
Kadir bhai, can I go first?
Yes. So you are with Team Mango.
Yeah. Do you want me to share my screen or you can access my test case?
No, go ahead. Please share your screen. So it's test plan, right? Not test cases.
Sorry. Test plan.
Okay, so let's start.
Give me 1 second here. Let me get this out. Okay, test plan. How do I share the screen here? Okay, test plan Team Mango. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so this is the test plan we have been working on. Everybody was working pretty great, but there were some challenges we faced that we have been we had taken care of with the help of Raju Bhai and Mamun Bhai. So this is the history documents we have. We have got this context where you can, like, it's hyperlinked to the, with all of this. So these are the hyperlink with all of the, what is it, subtopics. This is introduction, document purpose, overviews, regular scopes of testing is something we need to talk about. Entry and exit criterias are mentioned. We have got test schedules, and we have got this Gantt chart. I might not be totally correct about it. This is my first time creating a Gantt chart. So yeah, this is the date and this is the Gantt chart. This all are, changeable. I know dates and everything's are going to be changed. This is something we created. This is the approach. The test deliverables. There are some test deliverable before phase, during the test phase, and after the test phase. These are mentioned here, the deliverables, roles and responsibilities, Director Kadir Ahmed and all the test analysts, lead, everything has been mentioned here. Test tools, there are softwares and hardwares. I tried to mention all I could. Environment is also something we need to talk about. Risk assumptions, and then acceptance criteria. Yes, so it's pretty much it.
This plan is really good. It's very, very impressive, very clean. I really like the template.
Yeah,
Very good.
we have been helped a lot by we got a lot of help from our heads.
That's
And
perfectly fine.
yeah, team worked really well too.
Okay, so let's talk about what were the activities that took place last week.
Last week
And
we had two daily scrums that I led. There were some group studies. Most of if I would say the most number of people present from my group would be our group, Team Mango, would be Husneara, would be, I don't want to mention the name, but 3 to 4 people max. Yeah, that that's being a challenge, that we'll have to work on. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it from our side, Team Mango side. If anything, Mamun bhai or Raju bhai wants to add.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Sabar, how confident are you on this document on completion?
Completion of this document, I would say I am confident on some of the parts. There are some parts that needs to be worked, Raju bhai, test plans. As you know, it always constantly gets updated. And there are some mistakes that I've seen. I'll have to correct those too. There are some empty spaces we need to discuss and move further. Depending on the vitality of what we need to do. There are something Gantt chart I've made. I might not be 100% correct, but I've created a Gantt chart here. I remember you told me it needs to be related to the date, remember? But I tried it, it wasn't working. That's why I just created one like this. I'll have to change it onto something that, if I change it here, then it changes here. So apart from that, I'm pretty confident with our team and and our test plans.
Yeah, the input I would give, there's multiple errors. If you review it, you're going to find multiple errors. And presenting this document and saying it's pretty good, and the confidence in the document, I wouldn't say it's up to par. There's many areas that need to be addressed and fixed, etc. And this is where we fail as a team, and this is where you can identify where you need to improve as a team, how you work as a team, and your communications as a team. So just take it as a learning example and try to improve on that. Thank you.
Okay, Razu, surely, whatever the problems are, I'll look up to that errors and I'll try to correct all of those. All of those, I'll try at least my best from my side. Thank you.
Okay. Shabar, my understanding was, if you scroll up, scope of testing, in scope and out of scope. So my understanding was that this is where you needed help, or this is where you need time. Which one is that?
No, this is basically what kind of tests are we going to work on? What kind of test we plan to work on? On IT solution project, and what are the things we won't be working? So
Right.
this is something I wanted. I had some confusion from my side, and yeah.
So do you want to talk about it now?
Sure. So
Okay. Before Shabar, before you get there, like, how did we complete this test plan? Was it one man show, or was it contribution from your entire team,
there
or
were
the active teams?
so basically Mamun bhai, let me show you. Yeah, there were definitely contributions from some of us. So here it is. If you can see, Kadir bhai.
Yeah. So that's good. Okay.
So these were the contribution. Mamun bhai actually assigned us works that we had to do for the test plans, and we have done.
This is great. You guys are much more organized than an actual project, an actual team. This is good. Thank you. All right, so let's go back to that test plan. If we can look at the in-scope testing, so let's talk about what are the different type of testing we think we'll be performing here. So if we talk about in-scope testing, what do you think of should be performed? And everybody can contribute here. Let's talk about in-scope testing. What type of testing? What is the very first testing we should perform when we get a build? Out of all these 50, 60 testing, what is the very first testing we should be performing?
Smoke testing.
Smoke testing.
Exactly. So we're going to start with smoke test, right? then next step would be what?
Sanity testing.
Sorry?
Sanity testing.
Sanity testing.
I would say after smoke test, we can say functional testing. Then we can list out probably sanity testing. Yeah. After then what?
Then do we move to the out of scope testing?
No, I think there are more testing
More?
that can be done. Yeah,
Regression testing.
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, regression testing. What else?
System testing,
System testing.
What else?
UAT,
UAT.
Okay. What else?
backend testing,
Sorry, what else?
security testing,
Okay. What else?
alpha testing. Sorry, Kadir, I can talk. So
No, that's
Is
fine.
unity testing,
Sorry,
is unity testing, unit test?
unit
Unity.
test. Who is responsible for unit test? Yes, unit test is unit test is part of
from
in scope.
developer side, yeah.
Developers.
Unit test is part of in-scope testing, but we just need to make sure that is done by developers. Okay, so also we have cross-browser testing, we have database testing. These are the two things you guys are forgetting, right? Database testing is essential, backend testing. Okay, cool. And when it comes to out of testing, what do you guys, what can you think of?
Mobile testing.
Okay.
Non-functional testing,
Functional.
cross-browser testing, and database testing.
No, not ours.
Database is in scope.
Oh, sorry.
Every application has a backend, and we should perform testing on that. All right, good, cool. I mean, this is pretty much it, right? We could probably think of a few other things, but these are the things in scope of your testing and out of scope of your testing. Shabar, are you somewhat clear on that?
Yes, clear.
Cool. Any other questions, concerns on your template or test plan?
Nope, that's pretty much it from my side, Kadir bhai. I guess I've got a pretty much of errors that I'll have to that needs to be corrected. I'll be correcting all those errors.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shabar. Overall, I feel like my my feedback is of overall, you guys, of course there's a room for improvement, but overall I am pretty happy with the approach and the effort. So thank you very much.
Thank you, bhai.
All right, so let's moving on to next team.
Assalamualaikum.
I guess Radwan,
Can I
you're
go,
up
brother?
next. Yes, please.
Right.
Shawar, can you stop sharing so Radwan can start? That would be yeah. Thank you.
Is it okay now?
Yes,
Yes, it's
sure.
good.
Thank you.
All right, so this is Team Hazard test plan. I had few members work on it, but have 4 members that haven't submitted their homework. 3 of them are inactive. They haven't been joining me the group studies or the meetings here, but 1 person hasn't been submitted their homework. And then this is our test plan, and some people haven't done it, so it's left blank. What I think about our test plan is it's pretty much good, but there's some we have to make some corrections on it. So we will be working on that soon. That's
Can you,
what working.
can you scroll up a little bit, please? Slowly, yeah. Keep going. Scroll up. Okay, hold on. Scroll down a little bit. Okay. Okay, so environments, when it came to, scroll down a little bit. Okay. QA reporting site, QA machine. Okay, test environments, QA reporting. So usually when we talk about environments, like I think Shabar also had the confusion about environments, right? So if we talk about environment, let's scroll down a little bit. 9.1, and what else do you have? 9.2 environment needs. Okay, scroll up, please. Thank you. Okay, that's it. Here, 9. Stay at 9, number 9. Okay. So environment, when it comes to environment, we just need to focus on the standards when it comes to environment. There could be so much more than the standards, but even you can see it here, right? You have QA admin side, QA reporting side, QA database side. I don't think it's necessary. When it comes to environment, we have the standards, right? We have dev environment, QA environment, UAT environment, and production environment. These are the 4 environments. And it's really, really important that you understand this. When you go to interview and they ask you about environment, if you fail, you don't get a job, because that's basics. And I have I've gone over it over and over again. I have I demoed it in my actual work multiple times, right? Even I show you how the code is traveling from one environment to another environment. So there should not be any confusion, right? So when it comes to environment, there's dev environment. That's where that's where coding happens, right? And there is a 2 types of testing happens there. Unit and integration environment. We don't test there, but developers are testing there. The reason you may need to list it here, because you have listed unit test up on top, right? Where it says in scope testing, you have listed unit test, right? So now here you have to list out the dev environment as well, right? QA environment obviously will be testing and QA environment. UAT, we have listed out UAT testing in scope testing, and that testing will be happening on UAT environment. So UAT goes here. In production environment, we will not perform actual testing. Only testing we'll be performing is smoke or sanity testing in production environment. Anyone has any idea when and what type of testing we perform on production environment? And that's a very famous question that they ask you. Do you test in production? What type of testing do you perform in production? When do you test in production?
This is the regression testing.
Explain a little bit more.
Is that when it considers like you do everything from the beginning, just to make sure everything is working correctly in the production environment? The end, basically.
You're somewhat right. I'll explain in a minute. Anyone else?
End-to-end testing.
No, sorry.
What is the question, Kadir bhai, again?
When do we test in production, and what type of testing we perform in production?
UAT?
No, production, prod environment.
Oh,
Is it the ad hoc testing?
No, okay. So let's go step back, right? I was talking about dev environment, and that's where we perform two type of testing there. We, not when I say we, not us, we as a team, right? And that would be developers. They will be performing two type of testing. Unit and integration testing is done in dev environment. You QA, where do you perform your testing? All of this in scope testing that you have mentioned on top, where do you perform that testing? Do you have any idea? That's your questions, guys. Open question for anybody.
The staging environment.
Functional and performance.
No, environment. Where do you perform all of your testing? Which environment?
Staging
QA
environment.
testing.
QA
QA
environment.
environment. QA environment.
Okay, clean. Good, clear. So again, QA environment could be named differently. Depend. Sorry, guys, I have a little cold. QA environment could be named differently depending on the company you work for. I have been part of companies they call QA environment as staging environment, and mostly we call it QA environment. Few other names I forgot at this point. QA environment, just know it's QA environment. If someone says staging environment, that could also be QA environment, but ignore all of this for now. You are working in IT solutions in QA environment when it comes to QA testing. So refer to that when you go to your interview or project. You can say in my last company, I worked in QA environment. I have performed all of my testing in my QA environment, except UAT environment is responsible for UAT testing, right? So, so understand we have 4 standard environment. There could be more, but 4 is what you worked on, and that's standard, and that's good enough for you. Sorry. Okay, so again, going back a step, dev environment is responsible for 2 testing, unit and integration. Every other majority of the testing happens in QA environment by you, QA, by us. We do all kind of testing there. Everything you can think of happens there. Then we move to UAT environment. We go to UAT environment, we perform UAT testing there. When we say we, it is UAT testers. In some cases, it could be just us. Fine. Then we move to production environment, and that's very, very important. In production, this code is traveling from QA to dev to UAT to production. By the time it goes to production, the expectation is this code is fine. There is no bug. It's working completely fine. Everybody has tested it. Dev has tested it. QA have tested it. Client has tested it. Now we are moving into production. The expectation is this code is fine. All we have to do, we have to drop this code in production and do a quick smoke or sanity testing, very small testing to make sure that we have the application is working fine. So this is not end-to-end. This is not functional. It is part of functional testing, but it would be more like smoke or sanity testing, very small testing. We'll just go 1 round. Maybe it takes 1 hour depending on the size of the application. It would be very quick testing, just going there, making sure everything is working. The existing functionality is working, the newer functionality is working, done, 1, 2, 3. So please understand this, like what happens in each environment, especially in production, what happens, and you will be asked, do you perform testing in production? That's a very tricky question. You could say yes, you could say no. Instead of saying yes or no, you can say yes, we do this in production. Whenever we introduce new code to production, we do a quick smoke testing to make sure that that environment is stable and everything is working fine. That's your answer. Everything else happens in QA, and some testing in dev and pre-prod. Any questions? Are we clear on that?
Yes, thank you.
Kadir bhai,
Right. Yeah.
Kadir bhai, just to note, this question was asked, I was asked this in my interview, and sometimes they, instead of saying sanity or smoke, they'll use a tricky word, and they'll ask, have you done BVT testing in your production environment? Build verification testing. So that's something else that they
So you ask them question when you say PVD, what do you mean by that? If the question is not clear to you, do not answer it. Question has to be clear. So they can use in their company some terminology which is not standard. You are not responsible to answer or know that unless until they're giving you clarity. All kind of BS will come to you when you go to production, not production, when you go to job hunting. And instead of getting nervous or anxious about it, just calm down and ask them, just politely ask them, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this terminology, explain to me. And by the time you go out of this class, you will know everything there is to know about software testing and everything. There will not be anything that you won't know. So you should be very, very comfortable. Sit back, relax and ask them questions. Every company has like tricky words. Like I was working, when I started in this company, I was hearing this word MVP a lot, and I was so confused. Like I was so confused. I was like, this is a very common terminology. Do I ask them this question? What is it? Because MVP is known as most valuable player or product or something like that. What do I do? Like, it took me like a month or so before I get clarity. So, and there are so many other terminology that they use, each company. So you're not expected to know everything. Ask them questions. Once you do, it's going to be clear. All right, so I'm wasting too much time here. I hope it's useful. Let's move on. Red one, what were the challenges this week?
We had one group study. Also, we went the people, they contacted me, and then we went over some time offline. And then some of the members at the last minute, they said they didn't receive the document when I already sent it in, and there was some issues like that.
Okay, so when it comes to that, they didn't receive. So you had group study. Did they join? Who raised those questions?
Excuse me?
So you said you sent some document and they said they did not receive it. Did we have group studies? Did they join?
Yeah, they most of them joined, like about four of them.
So let's rectify those challenges within the group studies itself. Did we have a shared drive or something where everybody contributed? It seems like yes, I see 5 people contributing as we speak.
Yes, I shared it to all the members, and then I told them to confirm with me if they found it, but they left it on scene, so I can't force them to tell me if they found it or not.
Yeah. So let's work with communication. Let's see if we can close this gap. Seems like communication gap is all across the board, and I think somehow we need to close this gap. I've been keep repeating and requesting everyone to participate in this, because if you don't participate here, I think everybody's going to be failing and have a gap, and so it'll be hard to close this gap. Anyway, we can only ask, right? I just wanted to ask Raju Bhai and a couple of others. So Seems like Sanabil is Sanabil here? Probably not.
Did you see the message in WhatsApp right now?
Yeah, so that's another case. I don't think he's normal and he's texting
Yeah.
random stuff. So we probably have to remove him as well.
Yeah.
Sanabil, are you here? Probably not.
No.
Okay, I think unfortunately I have to remove him as well. He's been acting up lately. Okay. He's in Microsoft Teams, but he doesn't communicate here. Okay. Raju, what do you think? What is appropriate? Can I remove him?
It's a tough call. Let's tell him to only communicate in Teams. And let's give him another week and get it sorted out. He's currently not in any groups, any teams right now. So
Right.
I kept asking him for documents. He did send a document, and of course it was not proper or complete, but I think he is trying to get back on track maybe, but sometimes the messages that he gives is not appropriate.
Yeah. All right, so I'll wait a little bit. I pinged him in the Microsoft Teams. Let's see what he says. All right. All right. Thank you, Team Hazards. Obviously, our test plan, I'm just going over the template and the headers. I'm not going through the details now. Maybe eventually I will, but I'm sure Raju had some involvement. Overall, I'm just providing feedback on the template and what I can see, the highlights basically. All right, next team, another team, either Wolfpack or Sunrise.
I'll go first if you want.
Okay.
So I'm part of Team Sunrise. Let me share my screen. Okay. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, pretty much, starting off, we created the test plan this week. I believe we had 3 group sessions. Everybody on the team is pretty active. There was one person that wasn't active, but we got him back on track, Muhammad Hanan, and there's still one person that's not responsive, but other than that, everybody is. Everybody had individual roles in test plan. So if you look in the table of contents, we had 10 things. Everybody had, 1 or 2 roles. And, for the most part, everybody did their thing. The test plan is completed. There's no empty parts on it. I made the template and then I shared a Google Drive with everybody. I put it in the classroom, so everybody on the team has access to it, and they did do it. I would say communication on our team is really well. Another big part of it, Razubai did help a lot. He joined some of our meetings and explained the things, we didn't understand too much. But yeah.
See, can you, scroll down?
Yeah, I'll scroll through. This is the table of contents.
Yeah.
Start off intro, scope of testing, out of scope testing, entry and exit criteria, the schedule with the Gantt chart along with it, approach, test deliverables, roles and responsibilities, test tools, test environment, and risk assumptions and dependencies. Some of the things here, we definitely, for me, seeing the other groups and hearing your feedback, we need to add some things. Like on the risk, there could be a little more, or maybe the test tools, there could be more tools added. But other than that, I think we got the gist of a test plan, and we got the basics down. That communication on the team is pretty good. You know, a lot of people, they side pinged me saying if their work if their work schedule conflicts with the timing, so we adjusted that. But yeah, that's all.
My note about this is that the amount of communication and everything I have seen from your team and you being the leader of the team was amazing. I was following your conversation and everything this week.
Yeah.
Please keep it up. It's really great to see what you guys are doing. You turned around big time, man. Please continue.
Okay.
We are
Yeah, in the beginning, I know we had that problem that I didn't use the correct Sunrise chat, because originally when we broke off into groups, I made my own. Then I went back to the original one, but then the conflict happened, so then we ended up using the one with 18 participants.
Yeah, perfect. That's good. Let's keep up this good work. We are almost in the new year, and there's no time to rest. Let's continue.
And as for that one person that I couldn't reach since the beginning, do you want me to side ping you about him, or what should I
Yeah,
do?
just give me the name and even I will try to see what's up.
Okay, no problem.
Cool. Thank you, Steer.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, the last team, guys.
Assalamu alaikum.
Awesome.
So in our team, we only had 3 active members that were working on the test plan. And I am trying to reach the other 3 members that we have. One of the members we have that are basically family. So I tried to get in reach with the one of the inactive members. Still haven't heard anything back yet. And the 2 other members, I'm really not sure how to get in touch. I tried to contact through WhatsApp, through Teams, and there's no response. So currently working with the 3 members that we have that are active. And this week I wasn't really that active because I wasn't feeling well, and there was a sudden change of plans where I had to do something else, which is why I couldn't be that active with the team. But I would like to say that the 3 members that we have, I'm really happy with their activity, because even though I gave them the task last minute, they were able to complete their task and deliver what was asked of. So that's what I would like to bring out before I start.
Sure. Can I, before you start, just wanted to ask you, from your active group, do you see anyone that could lead this effort hands-on? You oversee the activity, and do you see anyone that can be a leader?
Sure. From our 3 members, I can see, well, any of the members to lead the group, and I can overview as well. It's just, yeah, that.
So can you identify a leader for next week, or multiple person, either, or whatever you feel comfortable? Let them do the hands-on work and you give them the suggestion. Would that work, or is it too early?
Maybe let this week go and I get a better understanding of the team, of who is more leader material, and then I'll just assign the role and let you know before assigning.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. So the test plan was worked on. We have 8 different sections, and since we only have 3 members, our members had to work on a lot. Like, there was a lot to cover. Each members, they worked on like 1 or 2 or 3 sections, and we were able to get it complete before class. Starting off with the table of contents, we have the introduction. We did have the scope of testing, but that was part of my role and I really didn't get a chance to complete it. So I will be getting it complete within the next 2 days and adding it here. We also have the test entry, exit, acceptance criteria, test schedule, test approach, test deliverables, test tools, roles, and responsibility. Starting off with the introduction, we're talking about the document purpose, the project purpose of IT solutions, the project objective, and we also have the test objective. The requirements weren't added yet. They will be added soon. And this was Brother Suhel's tasks. There are some mistakes that he has in his document that he shared, which I do want to go over with him this week. So we are all clear on what the mistakes are and how exactly to create this document and what information should be added. There are some information that are not completely correct.
Okay.
Skipping over the scope of testing, we moved on to entry, exit, and acceptance criteria. The entry criteria are basically the same when we have the build and everything. Exit criteria is when there's no bugs, everything is retested, completed, and closed off by QA. And the acceptance criteria is everything that was added into our JIRA. So this was Saima Begum's task. She was asked to she asked questions on whether where we can get the acceptance criteria. And I said that the acceptance criteria are added for each of the user stories. So just have a look at JIRA, go over all of the user stories, and you'll find the acceptance criteria and just add it here. So that's how our acceptance criteria was made for each user stories. Then we have our test schedule. The test schedule, we didn't add any start dates. I just left it blank. So we can add the dates when we do have a proper schedule from the group. But this is what we have basically: requirements, creating environments, test cases, executing test cases, defect logs, test closing, and buffer time. We also have our test approach. So what testing are happening and in which environment. So the unit integration is dev, and then we have the requirement test plans, JIRA testing, regression testing. JIRA, so retesting, regression testing. We have cross-browser testing, sanity testing, database testing, which are all happening in the QA environment. We also have where these documents are being stored. So these are some of them are in spreadsheets, some of them are in JIRA. That's what we have. We also have the test deliverables. So the artifacts, the documents that are going to be provided, such as the test plan, our test cases, our reports, the RTM and the TAR, and our test tools, JIRA. And the roles and responsibilities here we have.
Cool. All right, Ashfaq, thank you. I think this we could still refine this test plan.
Yes, that is the work that we're going to be doing this week. Going to go over everything within like having group meetings and making it a better document. There's still a lot more improvement we can do in this document.
So now here's the thing, right? Couple of the teams, obviously it's understandable, right? You know, your team is has only a few active members, and plus you have a full-time job and other things, so that is understandable. But we had a deadline, right, this week till today, and we missed that. That's a couple of teams, and now things are piling up. This week, right, we have other plans, right? If we look at this week, we have other plans. Now, how do we accommodate that? Now, this week we have work piling up. We have so much things happening. We have a backlog, we have roadmap, and we have backlog item, and within that backlog we have so much work. Right? If we look at this, so much work. Now, each of the story needs a lot of work to complete. Now, ideally, what I should have done is I should have started with a. Okay, this is good. So I should have started with a sprint, right? You see, ITS sprint 1, we have nothing. We didn't start the sprint yet, or we didn't create the sprint yet. So ideally we should have done it, and ideally sprint is only 2 weeks long, but I didn't do it because I feel like we still have couple of weeks that we can still do some side work. Test plan in Agile, guys, understand these are very important things, right? In Agile, ideally there is no room for test plan. Like test plan like this is waterfall. It's always been waterfall. When it comes to Agile, there's really no room for it. But you need to know how to create a test plan. They will be asking you, do you know how to create test plan? They might ask you, do you create test plan for Agile project? You can say, don't ever like give yes and no simple plain answer. I'll say in my last project, we worked in Agile, we had Scrum board. We did not create physical test plan. We went sprint by sprint. But you can say, in my previous project, we are, following waterfall model. We created test plan, and I created test plan from scratch, and I'm really good at it. So these kind of answers you should give. Now, ideally, what we should have done here, we should have created this sprint, and we should have worked on the sprint itself. Only reason I did not create a sprint, two things, right? First, this sprint would be 4 weeks long, and ideally it's not the case. We should not have a 4-week sprint. And secondly, there is no room for test plan in Agile. It's hard. This test plan like this, right? When you create a test plan, it will take a couple of days just to create test plan. Now, your sprint only has 10 days. You should not spend 2 days creating test plan. And test plan like this should not be created for 2 weeks only. This should be for longer project, like 3 month long and things like that. In Agile, you could create test plan, but not for sprint by sprint, for overall project. So whatever the duration your overall project should be, you could create a test plan, but not sprint level. So that's one thing. The other thing is, before I move on, any question on test plan? Are there any things that you don't understand? Like we talked about in scope and out of scope testing, I noticed a lot of you are not clear on that. Then we talked about in environments. There were a bunch of you are not clear about environments and what happens in environments. Similarly, any other questions about any other sections before we move on? All right, you guys are pro. I did wanted to ask you about your understanding on test entry and exit criteria. Are we clear about test entry and exit criteria? What happens there? Any volunteers?
So yeah, I can kind of talk a little bit about
Yes,
it.
yes, please.
Because that was one of my tasks on the test plan.
Okay.
A little better understanding from Rajubhai as well, that the test entry criteria part is basically what's everything, certain documents has to be basically explained and defined, and also these documents need to be approved before entering into a test. Those things need to be in place, including the particular test plan that we're working on. That needs to be part of it as well, and making sure that we have been given all the right credentials for environment, for example, the test, and our team is in. Everything is in. All the team members are in plan within the plan. So those things have to be in place before we can even enter into. It's like a condition, is what I'm understanding what a test criteria is. Sorry, the entry criteria is, and making sure the application is there as well. Things of that nature. And the exit is also, again, another condition to make sure that we've met within the budget. I mean, we're able to do everything within the timeline and within the budget, as well as that there's no defects or bugs, everything's been fixed, such as the priority ones like the high critical, cannot have any of those open, making sure before we exit that's part of the exit criteria. That's how I'm interpreting it as a condition in order to exit the testing. I think there's two low defects that were accepted, are to be accepted by the stakeholder or the client, but everything else, all other high, medium, and criticals has to be closed. That's what I understand about the entry and exit criteria.
Yeah. Thank you, brother, for stepping up. Your understanding is correct. I would, yeah, this is correct. So just understand entry criteria means what are the things you need before you enter your testing.
Right.
So if you think about what do I need before I start test, I need my test plan in place. I need my test cases in place. Before them too, I need my requirement in place. It's like a checklist. Before you enter your testing, do you have a checklist in place? If so, and you should have a checklist in place, do you have everything in your checklist? First, start with the requirement. Even before that, start with the resources. Do you have all the testers in place? Do you have a computer in place, hardware, software in place? Do you have your requirement in place? Do you have test plan in place? Do you have test cases in place? Do you have RTM in place? Right, things like that. After that, do you have the actual application that you're going to be performing testing on? Is that delivered? Do you have it? Without that, you cannot perform testing, right? If you need any data, for example, like, credentials or payment, if you're testing a payment or anything else that requires you to perform testing, do you have those in place? That's nothing but your test entry criteria. Anything and everything you need before you start testing is this in place. Similarly, exit criteria. And that's another question, right? They will ask you, how do you stop testing? How do you make sure that your test is complete? And that's a very tricky question, right? And you should say, your answer should be, I refer to my test exit criteria. And that's a criteria you define, and that gets shared across and it gets signed off, approved by the team as well as the client. Right, in your test exit criteria, you will define what are the exit strategy. And that's nothing but executing each and every test cases there. Also defects, making sure each and every high, medium, blocker tickets will be tested and closed, right? There might be a scenario where you have low priority bugs open, but that will be circulated and it will be accepted. Application will be accepted, knowing there are few bugs. Don't say 2 or 3, it could be any number depending on the client or the business, how many of this bug they're willing to accept open bugs in that application, right? What else? There are a few other things right now. It's not coming to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Is the test metric tied to the exit criteria?
When is your test metrics? Explain a little bit more.
Is the metric that is used to, have a good test coverage, to make sure that the test coverage is good.
100% testing, 100% execution has to happen for test exit criteria to met. There should, so test metrics, it talks about how many test cases is there, how many executed, how many pass, how many fail. That is fine, but when it comes to test exit criteria, there is no exception. Each and every test case has to be executed. Whether if it's pass or fail, it's a different story. There could be scenario where you'll have a couple of test cases failing because of the low priority bug, but that has to be executed each and every test cases. So yeah, test metrics could be part of it, but the metrics, it is more like reporting purpose. Number of bugs, reported number of open bugs in different statuses, things like that. That's more on the reporting side. But exit criteria is defined. It's a strategy that you define how you exit out of your testing. So going back to the question that could ask you, like, how do you exit out of testing? You just tell them, like, I make sure that I meet test exit criteria, as well as, deadline and everything else. But as a tester, like I personally, I can never be satisfied. I always feel like, okay, even though we sign off on the product, but I still feel like I could still do more testing. That's one thing about QA, like you can never be satisfied. Anyway, these are about interviews. We are running out of time. We need to move on. Any other questions, guys?
So you said test plan is usually used in what do you call for waterfall. So there's not like a kind of test plan for Jira. So how do you set the exit criteria for that Jira? Like if you said they ask you the question.
It's not standardized like this. I'm telling you what's happening in the industry, but no one would say clearly test plan is only for waterfall. It's not for agile. No one will admit it, but I'm telling you what I am seeing and experiencing in the industry. So you and I, when we go to interview, we should not say it clearly like this. It's tricky. The tricky things, your answer should be tricky as well. So you refer to your last project. Do not say, oh, test plan is only for waterfall. Test plan is not used in agile. Don't say like this, because you don't know in their company, the company you're being interviewed for, if they're creating test plan or not. But what I'm telling you, what I'm seeing in the industry being such a long time, you cannot, and I explained to you guys 15 minutes ago, you can create test plan for overall project, even in the agile environment, but you cannot create test plan for sprint to sprint. It's going to be very, very hard and waste of time. So, you can just say, right, but your question is very valid, right? If we are not using test exit criteria, if we are not using test plan in the agile, how are we defining exit criteria, right? So your question is very valid, but exit criteria has to be defined somewhere, or definition of done needs to be defined somewhere. So whether if it's in a test plan form or Confluence link form. So I can show you a small example here, right? So we're not using test plan, although I created a test plan, but we are not using it. If you see my screen, we have can you see my screen where it says DOR and DOD?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you can create a Confluence link, right? A share link or something. That's where, either test exit criteria is defined or definition of done is defined, something like that. And that will be same. That will be nothing but same. So as a QA, you should have your space, right? You should have your space. That's where So this is my space, right? And here I can define, so if I don't have a test plan, I can define anything and everything here. I'm defining testing process. I'm defining how Jira process, how to log bugs and everything. I am defining test strategy here. I also have a test plan here. I have automation plan here. I have performance testing, agile, standards, definition of done. Everything is here. Now, this is public. Everybody has access to it. And they are responsible to view it. You can send them the link, just copy the link and send them the link. Hey, I have my test exit strategy here. Feel free to look into it. And they could comment it here somewhere. If anything they need. When I say they, I am in overall SDLC team, right? So there is always a way. There's always a way. I hope I answer your question, brother.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So this week I will not create the sprint. Next week, guys, can we understand this, guys? So we went different direction with the test plan. Coming back to the agile again, as we are practicing agile, right? Sprint. We're in construction iteration now. So next week, guys, ideally I should create a sprint, but I'll wait another week. Next week we'll do estimation, and we will start our sprint. But for this week, please write test cases for first two. ITS1 login page, ITS2 homepage, and landing page functionality. You will be writing your test cases here in story level. So you could do two things here. You could configure team lead. Can you please try to configure X-ray? So you guys have written test cases in Excel sheet before, right? If I'm not mistaken, we have practiced Excel sheet before. Can someone help me confirming? I believe we have written test cases in Excel sheet.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes, we did.
thank you. So let's change it. X-ray, Jira X-ray. Ashfaq, you know what is X-ray. You, Shabar, you know you worked last batch. Mamoon, you know X-ray. Radwan, you know X-ray, and Ishtiaq, you also know X-ray. Can you guys just in your project configure X-ray? Just go to settings somewhere here, search for X-ray. You should be able to configure it. If not, just ask for help, Google it. It's very, very simple. And then start writing test cases in Jira X-ray. Let me show you how quickly, and then we'll wrap it up. Where are you? Here. So basically, you go here. This is the ticket, right? Zephyr. Let's open this guy. Once you configure your X-ray, when you go to story, you'll see a testing board here. Testing board here. That's where all of your testing should go. We'll get there. But you go to this story, right? And you will see a create button somewhere. Okay. Either just converge, or you can go to testing board. I didn't write a test case for so many years, so clearly I forgot, but you should be able to go to testing board here. Yeah. And it takes like a minute to load. Jira X-ray is a little bit slow, so it takes a minute to load. Once it loads, you can see. So you can click on that create and test, but I really want to do it from here. So here, test coverage. Yeah, you see right here. Add a test right here. So don't go to testing board because you want to link that test to the story, right? So when you're on the story, right, once you have the Jira X-ray configured, click on test coverage, then click on add test. When you click on add test, click on new test. You don't need existing test or existing test set. Click on new test, and then it will give you this kind of view. And here you write your summary, and you write your steps here. So you write summary and you hit create, or maybe you don't do anything, you just hit create. Okay, you just hit create and it will create a ticket, and you go to the ticket and you edit that ticket. I think we need to have a call. There is a lot of things that needs to happen, and add leads. If you're not sure, I know you practiced last batch. If you're not sure, let's have a call. Jira X-ray itself should also, once you're done with the plugin, we also need to configure it. We have to go to settings and configure it. I remember doing it last time, so we can do it again. Not an issue. Let me know, but let's get it done, guys, as soon as possible. I know it took a long time. I'm sorry about that. Any questions, concerns?
So Kadir bhai, the task for this week.
Redwan, I'm sorry, brother. Can you please send out the meeting minutes? And that includes configuring Jira X-ray. First, configuring the plugin of Jira X-ray. Then next step is configuring the Jira X-ray for the project itself. So these are two configuration needs to take place. Third, create test cases for our first two epics. So epics, ITS 1 and ITS 2. One is for login and one is for the second one is for the homepage, landing page functionality. So each one of them has multiple stories. So we need to write test cases on the story level in Jira X-ray. So these are the tasks for next week. We need to have a call, the leads, we need to have a call to configure the Jira X-ray. Let's do it. Hopefully it's clear. Let me stop recording. Redwan, are you clear? Shower, are you clear?